Welcome everybody from around the globe tuning in Just Peter. Today we have a special guest, Daniel Schmid, who is the Chief Portfolio Officer of COSMO CONSULT, one of the biggest VARs worldwide that is independently owned. So stay tuned, have a good one. Welcome, Daniel.
Just Daniel. Thanks, Peter. Happy to be here.
Yeah. Daniel will start also a new podcast called Just Daniel, just to help me support mine a little bit. So, Daniel, my question to you is, if you can completely reinvent one part of the Dynamics ecosystem, what would it be?
Challenging with that question. If I could fully reinvent one part of the Dynamics ecosystem.
I know it's early morning.
I think probably it's too technical, but one thing which came into my mind right now is Microsoft has installed the app stores. There are a lot of ISVs and system integrators out there. There is a need of app stores because of the regulations by Microsoft, given on the, from my point of view, the most modern, the most state-of-the-art architecture in the Dynamics platform and the Dynamics solutions of Microsoft. So how to bring a product to a live system of a customer, it always has to go to pass the app stores. By passing the app stores, there are a lot of quality rules linked to. So Microsoft is really behind that, focusing on products, focusing on quality. So starting at marketing, naming conventions, and ends in development conventions. So that is pretty good. That makes it possible to automatically update the live systems of customers without really impacting their daily business in terms of shutdowns. There are no shutdowns required really. So that's great. There is also no merge required anymore. That's also great, especially for customizations, per tenant extensions, we call it that way. So if you look on that from that architectural point of view, that is pretty great. That is pretty good done Microsoft. But what is missing out there is the licensing topic, the handing over if more partners are involved in a project, more ISVs, then it's not that harmonized at all. So it ends up that customers will face the situation they have various licensing terms, various pricing models, all that. The transactability is there, but the license management, how many users linked to licensing models of Microsoft. So if I look on that from a customer point of view, even if I've got everything more or less from one system integrator, it finally does not really look appealing to me. It's confusing, a lot of text, a lot of details, a lot of license agreements. I have to understand, why is it that, why is it here? Why are the user numbers differing, whatever. So that's probably one thing we could optimize.
Sure. And to be honest, every customer has around 3 to 5 ISV solutions in their deployment. So there's always a big challenge. But I see that more like a technical challenge. But if you look at the ecosystem, which is partners, ISVs, SIs, and everything in between, do you see, if you could change one thing more from a higher level point of view, what would it be?
What would it be from a higher point of view? I have no idea, Peter. Probably have to cut it out of the vlog, but I have no idea.
Keep it in.
We keep it in. What you do have in mind, what could it be? How could we work better together?
Oh yeah, sometimes working better together. I think that is the thing that is pretty broken, in my personal opinion. Most SIs fight every customer side, and ISVs do likewise, or to compete to get a customer. We see that a lot now as well in this world, that customers get lower prices, margins evaporate. For me, that will be something, if you can fix that, that would make a lot of sense, because I think a lot of time is spending in to see how we can cut through the customer into moving. So that will be it for me. Right? How can we actually work together instead of saying we do it, but we actually do it?
What I personally feel right now, where is the transformation, where is the change out there? And I'm not sure if this is really objective for this discussion right now. So if I'm really on a neutral level, but what I feel, what I understand right now is customers are demanding more and more standards, asking on less development, customizations, more let's call it turnkey solutions for industries. And if we talk about turnkey solutions for industries, definitely the word industry, the buzzword industry needs to be understood in a proper way. So plastics, for example, is not really an industry. Even there is extrusion, folding. So there is even more sub-industry that's required and needed. But if you go on that, if I would be a customer, I wouldn't expect so many different quotes or offers from various system integrators. If we could harmonize that, so from the ISV point of view, what is your solution offering? From the system integrator view, how can we bring the power of the solutions to the customers in the easiest way? Easy in terms of reducing effort, reducing implementation time, reducing customization, more focusing on standard, more, let's call it consulting, guidance, giving clear instructions how to use the system. So it definitely drives into this area, not only, but also because AI is supporting us and that helps us to step over this barrier. So understanding more and more how AI can help us ideally leads us into this discussion. How can we standardize the implementations? And I know we, COSMO, for example, we are doing this in the system integration business. So we are focusing on highly standardized implementations, starting at the extra small business with 1 to 20 users, where we offer self-services, and self-services then are based on pure standard. Every customer is able to implement Business Central, finance, trade, warehousing by themselves, because we only give them a pure standard, but a clear guidance and support on how to do this. How and why do we know that it fits to their business? Yeah, because we have done it a couple of times. And even for bigger customers, we offer packaged services for dedicated areas. Like if there is no specialty in the business, in this industry, why should we talk about this about purchase orders, for example? Take it as it is. It's just training needed, nothing else, nothing more. So this is also the understanding of customers right now. They don't want to have analysis workshops for each and every piece of the system, of the ERP ecosystem. They want to have clear guidance where that's something which is in the industry since decades right now. The owners of companies asked 10, 15 years ago, can remember the times back in the times when the owners asked for, we want to implement Navision on standard, pure standard. And then it comes to the key users and departments, and they are normally failed. But we are right now on that track. So even the users are not interested in these one-by-one workshops anymore. Even the consultants are not interested in writing tons of user requirement specifications, test acceptance criteria, and all that stuff. So that's monkey business, which is reducing day by day, year by year. So there we definitely drive into. And if, back to your questions, if the system integrators, the ISVs and Microsoft bring all that better together, kind of implementation playbooks, best practice scenarios, it's definitely nothing pretty new. So think about when you've heard about first time best practices for industries.
Yeah.
But now it feels like it's becoming real.
Yeah.
There is push and pull at the same time from customers, from system integrators, from ISVs, from Microsoft. Yeah. Brilliant.
Okay, so that will be one of the things that you wanted that MFC person to improve. Funny that you mentioned it. I spoke to somebody last week that listened into the first podcast, and she said very clearly, Peter, you know what I don't understand? We have been talking about this for more than 10 years. This is still a topic. I said, yes, it's still a topic because nothing is changing. So it's still a topic. So thank you for that insight. So I just want to take it, and when you're not a CPO or when you're not in meetings, what actually inspires your thinking? I know you already for a while, and I know you're a thinking machine that goes on and on, but what do you think of after work?
What I'm thinking in after work. So it definitely has various scenarios. So it depends on my personal way of life as keeping the balance between business and free time. And I know I'm spending, sorry, I hope that doesn't sound that arrogant, but I know I'm spending a lot of time in business. I think more than the average of 40 hours a week. But I can ideally deal with it because I do have the freedom to do sports activities, which also helps you to release sometimes the struggle in daily business, and then new ideas are coming to your mind when you're doing something pretty simple, sports like tennis, cycling, whatever. I'm thinking about that many times to have a balanced day or week. Day is probably challenging, but week, adding physics to it, spending time with the family. I'm doing a lot of handcraft work. I do have my own projects at home. That makes me also happy because at the end of the day, I can really see and feel what I've built, what I've produced, what I've created, what I've done. So besides the daily business, working with laptops, working with IT, working with something immaterial, which is software more, what is software more or less, it makes me happy to build something out of wooden, steel material, whatever, building something in the garden, in the houses. We just built a bed for my daughter, but above the door. So it's a high bed, and managing this with 3.5 meter steel is a challenge because that's definitely not as easy to work with as wood is, for example. Another point is I'm really interested and eager in diving the AI thing. So I know there is going on a lot in there. I'm not really willing to think it through because it also gives me fear, but fear normally does not really exist in my life. And it also sounds arrogant, sorry for saying that, but I recognize that when I'm talking about that, I'm more looking on the opportunity. So I was always interested in something risky. So if you ask me to do something normal or something risky, I'd probably go for something more crazy, even if I do not look really like that. But above all, I think I am stable enough and I am thinking about the risks clearly, but nevertheless, I'm interested in taking risks, going different ways, going new ways. And AI is definitely one thing I'm highly interested in. How can it help us? Telling the story, supporting us in daily business, in monkey jobs. Yeah, it costs a lot of time. That definitely will help us, but it's just the only beginning. Looking on the agent thing, I'm highly interested. What remains on us? So I do have children. They are 8 and 11 years old. See it over here.
Yeah.
So I'm bringing right now AI to their life. How can they get use of it? Because I've learned a lot how younger generations adapting these kind of technologies. I'm already in a funnel of experiences. It's not always that free as I want to. So they give me kind of positive impact from an angle you won't expect it, at least. Asking things, doing things totally different. There I'm interested. And then probably the last thing, telling your stories. When it came to the point back in the days after school, I had to decide, what do I want to do in business? What is my profession?
Right.
I was always interested in teaching, in understanding how can I help the next generations to do things different. In some manner, I'm still doing this, but thinking more and more in this, if you are a teacher, and it definitely goes into a totally different direction as most of you listeners and watchers are expecting it. If there are people out there, how to say, I'm always interested in different perspectives and different ideas and different understandings. So we tend to understand. No, we tend to interpret what you would probably think about that. And that's risky because it's just an interpretation. In many areas, I'm really interested in get your points, get your thoughts, get your visions, get your ideas. And teaching is also a thing. So I'm really interested in discussing with people about their opinions. How do they look on something? And how can these discussions help us to take the next step? If we are always in a homogeneous group, we probably will never discover the moon, for example. We just fit our requirements, which probably are not that challenging.
Yeah.
Something crazy new thing starts if there is a heterogeneous group. Some people, some participants are thinking, doing, behave different, and then it starts. So it sometimes leads to little rumbles inside to go for something beyond our normal boundaries and the limits. And that is also everything together, talking to next generations, bringing some ideas to their minds, and then see how these seeds grew up in new plants, in new ideas, in new visions, in new talents, in new whatever, to build a world. So just imagine how big the universe is, how big the Earth, the planet Earth is, how many organisms are living here, animals, plants, human beings. We are just this pretty small piece in the universe that's nearly impossible to really understand to get it. But what we have achieved over the last 100 years or 150 years, that's amazing. So I can't really expect what will happen next 50 years or 15 even.
Well, yeah, we can only fantasize about it because, but I think we can ask ChatGPT or DeepSeek to paint a picture. I think it will be interesting. So I think AI is not only for the young, because I know my dad uses it. He's 79 years old. He has ChatGPT on his phone, and he asks it the most random questions. And of course, he doesn't do like we use it, for example, but he does ask simple questions and says, "Oh, really?" And so he has a whole conversation with ChatGPT just to know something. So I think it's good for the older generation and that they have somebody that replies to their questions. So it's interesting. But the younger generation, yeah, they are way more better deal with it than I would, I think. And I use AI the whole day. Yeah. But maybe that's a good point because you have young kids. How do you describe your role as a CPO to your kids? I'm just curious. What do you tell them? What does Daddy do when he's away?
They just know me by that. I'm working hybrid, so either I'm at the home office or I'm traveling around. But I'm also surprised sometimes if I just look on the situations because they know exactly how to act, how to behave when we are at home. For my kids, it's pretty normal that either I'm fully out of our living place here for days or even for weeks, or I'm present like the whole day and night. I think they do not really get what I'm doing. They know I'm doing a lot with computers. They know I'm doing a lot with technologies. They know I'm talking to a lot of people the whole day. But I also realized, and that is kind of funny story. When my younger boy was in kindergarten, they had a present at Father's Day, and there was a kind of pretty nice text, and there was some blank areas in. So the kindergartners asked then the kids to fill in these gaps, these blank areas. And it started like, my dad's name is Daniel, and he is old. So it started with my boy. My dad's name is Daniel, and he's 80 or 90 years old. So I was like, okay, thanks for that. 80, 90 years and come on, but yeah, okay. And then,
Thank you.
and then it was questions like, I really enjoy playing with my dad, and he filled in Lego, comma, if he is not working, first time. On weekends, I play soccer with my dad, if he is not working. When we are traveling, I like to do hiking and cycling if he's not on the phone. So I realized for my kids, especially for my younger boy, working is always present to him. Does it really negatively affect? No, it's not. Do they really understand what I'm doing? Something with computers, something with IT, that's it. If I tell them the story, what I'm really doing, why I'm talking the whole day, why I'm not really typing so much, why I do have one meeting to another, my explanation is, look, I help people to make their job, so I'm multiplier.
Yeah.
And I just tell them, if I have to cut all your food, if I have to cook all your food all the time, you always have to wait for me. If I teach you in that and you are able to do it by yourself, I am free on that and you can feed yourself. So that is more or less my translation of my job in IT world, in businesses, in how to produce, how to create, how to generate value. Definitely that thing is a kind of probably really missing understanding. They hear it, but they don't get it. But I think with the translation into their daily life to say, okay, I'm also a teacher in soccer. So I'm also a trainer at tennis. I train in soccer, train in tennis. So I'm doing this for the kids. So they probably recognize, okay, multiplying means I teach something to a wider group. And if they then will do this the same, this is a kind of snowball system, but nevertheless the multiplier effect. I guess that's the best way of describing my work and how they look on that. But I will test it out, Peter. I will ask them next time. I will give you a better answer on that.
Oh, that's good. Good.
How?
Yeah, and good that you're a teacher for tennis, because tomorrow I will play tennis again, which I started 3 years ago, and I'm really not that good, but I'm getting there. Sometimes I surprise the trainer that for 2 minutes I'm pretty good, and then it's all back to shit, but no work. So I try to keep up. But I think this is great, Daniel. Thank you for your personal insights, and it will be great. We catch up. We will travel soon, and maybe there is a tennis sport. You can help me out on my swing or whatever we call it to get things done, and also help to get the deadline, hopefully. Thank you for your time today, and have an amazing day.
Nice and beautiful to talk to you, Peter. Excited for the next vlog. And then I will give you more insights about my family. Thank you for asking. See you soon.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.